Hello, I'm Jeweliyana with InFused Glassworks, and this is the tutorial to go along with the class called Crystal Confetti Appy Plates. And this is what the Crystal Confetti Appy Plate looks like. We're going to be making something like that today. You should have received your kit that looks like this. It has all your supplies in it that you need. So I'm just going to go over a couple of safety tips with you first, and then I'm going to change the camera over so that it's right over the table so that you can see my hands doing the creating so that you can follow along. Safety tip number 1, make sure you are in a workspace that is undisturbed by cats and dogs and pets and children, and nowhere near food. You don't want to have food or open drink around whenever you're working with glass. So if you need a beverage, just keep it off to the side, okay? The other safety tip you need to make sure, starting now at all times, you must have something between your eyes and the glass. So if you wear glasses, you're good to go. If you wear glasses for distance and it's hard to see looking for close work with your distance glasses, then you need to have a pair of safety glasses on. And if you don't wear any glasses at all normally, safety glasses is the rule. A couple other quick safety tips would be that, we are working with glass. So if you happen to cut yourself or get a little sliver, just run your hand under the water, and if you go like this with the towel, it usually pulls away the sliver rather than if you try to see it to take it out, you'll end up poking it in. You'll be a pro handling glass by the time this is done. It's maybe if you've never worked with glass before, you'll discover it's not as scary as it seems. It's a pretty fun medium to create with, and these plates are super fun, super simple, easy to do at home because of the square rectangle nature of the pattern and design. It doesn't get too overwhelming trying to figure out how to make the creations work. So I'm going to switch things over now to the tabletop view and show you. So excuse this lovely technical setup here, me talking while I'm moving the camera around. But you want to be able to see what I'm creating here. So in your kit, I'm just going to go over that. You should have an instruction sheet. It's not totally instructions, it just has some photographs and tips to go along with what I have to tell you. The most important thing on this sheet is this part right here where I need you to please make sure you fill it out and print legibly and clear your email address so that I can find you once you drop the plates back off to me after you've made them. They need to be fired. So it's about 7 to 10 days. I'll get them fired, and then I need your email so I can find you and let you know when it's time to pick up your finished masterpiece, okay? So that's the most important thing in the kit, or maybe it's all important. You should, because you couldn't make it without the glass, right? Okay, so speaking of that, you should have a package with all the base colored translucent glass. You'll have a riser like this. This little white thing is what I call a riser. You'll have a white little tray, and that is for this. This is the magic rainbow dealy bops. So what you do with them is pour them in that tray. That way you can see what colors you have available, and then they're at the ready for you to work with. And you should have had a drop sheet in your kit too. So number 1, set your drop sheet out to make your station. Put your riser in the middle of your drop sheet. And then you will also need to have that piece of base glass that was wrapped in your kit. So take your base glass and center it on top of the riser. You got your colored rainbow dealy bops at the ready. Safety glasses if you ordered a pair. You will need glue. That should have been in your kit. And then this is a container with just some tiny clear magic dealy bops. They're magic because they fill holes, they finish designs, and they add pops of color everywhere. If you've ever been in one of my classes, you'll hear me going on about, look at how you magically add this color in a spot, and ta-da! It makes the whole piece balanced. So that's why I call them magic dealy bops. Okay, so where are you going to put this base glass? Well, I figure for the sake of compactness, that box that they came in? It makes a perfect tray to use for all your base glass pieces. So ta-da, there they are. And now the station is all set to go, set to begin. So I'm going to have to go over some design tips with you here to help you be able to make your masterpiece as awesome as you can possibly do it. And I know you can do it. Even if you think you're not creative, it's not true. We're all creative and you will succeed. You'll see. So common questions people ask are, I'll just hold the plate up too. They ask about spacing in between and edges and corners and all those kind of complicated things. So they're not really complicated. I'm just kidding. I put it on your instruction sheet. I did close up or little drawings to help you, because sometimes trying to show you clear on the video, you can't always see it so well. So we'll start with the corner. Well, I'm going to talk to you about design first. The nature of this concept for this piece is to do something abstract and square-ish. I don't care if it looks like a brick pattern, whatever it takes to make it fit together square. You don't want to do something like this where you curve the pieces, because there's no triangles and curved pieces to fit into the spaces. And the idea is to cover the whole base glass with pieces of decorative glass on top. It's okay to have a little bit of space between. We'll discuss that in a sec. But you want to cover the whole thing. You don't want to have sections where there is no glass sitting on this base glass. It makes for waves and bumps in your finished plates. So our goal is to try and cover the whole surface. That's why we stick to designs that are kind of squarish, rectangulish, have those kind of shapes to them. Okay, so on this size of piece, which is just about a 6-inch size plate, I suggest that you start your design on the edge. Let's say, for example, you were starting it in the middle. Well, by the time you got to the edge, if you were going along, you might have this little skinny piece, and you might not find a little skinny piece in your box of base glass where to finish it off. Whereas if you start on the edge, by the time you get to the other edge, you will find pieces that fit. It's just trickier if you start in the middle and it's all glued, and all of a sudden you get there and there's this narrow little lip. It's like out, doesn't fit. So tip number 1, start on an edge or a corner. And then how close do we get? Well, I'm going to try and show you that. Let me see if I can stand up and hold this closer to the camera. So with the corners, it's okay. Let me see if I can get the camera to cooperate here. It's okay if you are just hanging over the tip of the corner just a little bit. There, you can see that there. Just that little teeny tip is okay. Here is the photograph of it. There's a little better the drawing of it shows you the tip is allowed to be just a tiny bit over the corner. You don't want the piece of glass to be in from the edge like this, and you don't want it twisted and crooked and hanging over the edge. That's how you should do the corners. They don't have to be the big pieces of glass. They can be a little teeny square. I'm just letting you know it's okay if the little tip hangs over the corner. Then when it comes to the sides, the edges of the glass, you can see here, I put little happy face yes and no's on the instruction sheets. You want to have the pieces touch right to the edge. It's okay if each piece doesn't touch, but you want the piece that's on the edge side to touch the edge. You want to try and avoid having it hang over the edge like this. And again, you don't want to have it too far in from the edge if you can help it. It's nicer if you can keep them right to the edge. So that's corners, edges, and the other one is spacing. Spacing, you have 2 options. You can err on the side of about a 1/16 of an inch, which is what this is, and I'll show you again on the actual sample. Or it's okay if they touch. You can have each piece actually touch. In fact, you can even, I'll bring the plate up too, you can have a mixture. In some cases, the pieces actually touch, and in some, there's a little bit of space. And that's perfectly fine. That's the nature of the organic, abstract, squarish pattern. Okay, so I'm going to start by, like I said, putting them on the edge. And I think that it's more interesting design-wise if you, so maybe some will touch, some won't. But it's more interesting design-wise if you use a variety of shapes. So I got a big square, kind of a fat rectangle, a skinny rectangle, and then of course, you got to have some color in there. So every once in a while, you want to nicely space out. Well, no, don't space out. Just space your glass out so that you have little pieces of color here and there in your design. And maybe sometimes you don't want to always just have these lines of, let me see, pop that there, lines of all just stripes of color and stuff. So that's what the little clear dilly bops are for. You can put a clear one in every once in a while instead of a color. And you can pretty much do whatever designs call to you. There you can see, I can't lift it up yet because it's not glued, but you can see that there's 6 of them in a row, and you can variegate the pieces. And we do not glue as we go, just because, see how I'm building here? By the time I get to this bottom edge, it's like, oh man, that's too tiny a spot for a nugget, or not a nugget, sorry, a dealy bop, and it's not big enough for something else. So there, now it is. I just moved everything down, which is fine. So before you, these are so small, being 6 inches, I think that before you glue anything, you should kind of try and have the entire piece constructed. So I am gonna just keep doing that. You guys can, well, I'd say you can start, but I want you to pay attention along for a few more minutes just so I can show you the gluing demo. And then you can go crazy because there's not much more instructions after this other than, you know, keeping it square and keeping it light and fun, and glue it when it's all done. And it's easy to get in the zone and keep going and all of a sudden realize you forgot to add color. So just keep double checking every once in a while to make sure, do I have color everywhere I want to have color? So I will just put a couple more colors in here, and then I will give you a gluing demo. And we don't want to leave any spaces open there, so I think I need to find, here's a little square-ish thing. Love that word. Everything's square-ish, which makes it so we can be perfect with all our imperfections. Okay, so got a good chunk of that design going here, and I'm gonna just switch out the pieces to do my glue demo so I can show you, yikes, something else that I did, and the pieces just flew off while I was moving it over. Okay, so here's a piece that I've done some already on that is mostly glued, and what I just want to show you is a couple of things here. See, the same combination of a variety of shapes and pieces. And here, I'll slide this up closer to the camera in a minute. If you see this, yeah, you can kind of see this right here. You can see here, if it makes your life easier, can you see how the yellow is out to here, and then this piece is narrower in, and then this piece is further out? Well, that's going to make for a kind of messy, where's a square? Trying to fit a square in here because it makes a big gap. So you can switch out the sizes. That's why none of them are perfect. Well, they're not all exactly, and I mean they're perfect, but they're not all exactly the same size on purpose. Because you see how if I just put that wider rectangle in there, now it's kind of flush in line with the yellow one, and this fits beautiful and nicely like that. And maybe I don't even want to put this piece here because it makes a little teeny tiny hole right there. Or I could just slide these guys over because I haven't glued everything. And now I have room for another dealy bop right there. So I'm going to stop right there just to do the gluing demo for you. You will have in your kits a pack of glue, and usually it's about 3 or 4 depending on the size of piece you're making. And the glue is not actually assembled. It's like loose like that to keep it sealed and tight. So you want to carefully line up the screws, the grooves or whatever you call them, and screw the lid on. But you don't want to do it sideways where the piece is like horizontal like this. You actually want to do it so that that tip is pointing to the ceiling when you screw it on. And you screw the whole lid on. And then you pretend like you have lobster claws like this. So I'm going to do it sideways only to just demonstrate so you can see it on the camera. You hold the bottom half of the lid and give this top half a twist. But do it with the tip pointing straight up. And just wait a second, because I don't know if you can hear that on video, but it sometimes burps. And if it happens that you're going sideways and it burps, it could glue the glue to your hand and the whole tube to your hand. So you don't want that. If by chance you do get glue on your hands, wet glue, just dip them in water, go to the kitchen sink, run them under water, and the water will kind of seal the glue off. You'll have a coating on your hands and it'll come off in the shower the next day, or if you're really concerned about it, you can use nail polish remover, but it's just crazy glue. It comes off. So that's a tip about gluing. The other thing is, if you happen to discover you're glued to your piece, use your hand like a claw. Like, here's, pretend my finger here is stuck to the piece and I'm like, I don't want to lift it up or I'll lift the whole piece. You take your other hand like a claw and kind of make a umbrella over it, and then you peel your finger. You peel the stuck part off. So I'm going to show you, peel it. Don't lift it straight up, kind of roll it off while you're holding down the rest of your piece, and that way you won't lift up your whole plate. Okay? So with the crazy glue, we've got that lid twisted off. We're good to go. The magic sweet spot where you want the glue to go is you just kind of hold it, maybe you don't have to get out a ruler, about 1 centimeter or so above. There's a space in between each of these pieces of colored glass, and just above there you want to squeeze a drop and it'll go down. You want it to go, where you want it to go is down to the base glass, because it literally creeps underneath and seals instantly. So, oh, there, and this is a good thing for the glue demo. So I like to start on the edges and go all the way around. I mean, this plate is not finished, but for sake of you to get the demo, we would go with like a drop of glue, and you don't even have to touch it while you're gluing. You can just hold your hand steady and like drop, 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 go around the edges and drop a drop of glue between each couple of pieces. 1 drop of glue will glue 3 or 4 pieces sometimes, so you don't have to go on every single piece of glass and make a drop. As long as you just kind of go right there, that will get those 3 pieces, and you do that all the way around the edge, and then you just go through the whole interior of your piece and make sure that you've glued down every piece. When you think you've glued down every piece, then there's this trick, and I think I have it, where you just wiggle it back and forth like this and listen and see. And if you don't hear anything sliding, then it's probably safe to very slowly take your piece and tip it anywhere at any point in time while you're tipping it. If something falls out, be watching it while you're turning it so that you can see where the piece falls out of, if anything comes out, so that you can stop the presses and go back and glue that piece in. You want to be able to finally turn the whole piece upside down and have nothing fall out. That's how you know everything is glued into position. And once you have done your whole piece and everything's glued into position, then I want you to leave it to dry overnight, or just be at least for sure a couple hours, to make sure all the crazy glue is dry. And then you want to wrap it, but just pop it back up in the bag with all your pieces. Any leftover glass can go back in the bags and the containers. And if it's a used up glue, just throw it out. But if you still have a good glue, whatever's left that you're not going to use, put it back in the box, and then send me an email or a text and let me know your piece is ready, and we'll make arrangements for you to drop it off, do the doorstep drop. If it's really cold out, I'd rather that you contact me before you drop it off so that I make sure I get your package. You don't want to leave glass like this out when it's -20 or even -10. It's not a great idea. So contact me and I will get them fired for you. They go through, just so everybody knows, once the whole piece is done, it'll go and I can't talk anymore. I've been talking too much today. Once I get the pieces back, they go in the kiln twice. The first round in the kiln, they come out and they'll be flat like this, but all the pieces will be fused onto there. It goes into the kiln and it goes into a firing called a tack fuse firing, where the kiln is heated up hot enough for all the pieces to tack together forever and never move. But it's not shaped into the curvy piece like this yet. That's the second firing that'll happen when they come out of the tack fuse. I'll clean them up a bit around the edges if need be, and then they go on a slumping mold, and I should have had one nearby to show you, but for sake of not having to reshoot this video tonight, sorry, they go in a slumping mold and they will go in, and then they're heated up again where it's just gentle firing, where it's not quite so hot, and then the glass will slowly slump into position, and when that comes out, we will have a plate like this. So I think that covers everything. If you're, oh, I should say one more thing because some people will get worried or concerned about this. If there's any wet glue on top or glue dried on, don't worry about the glue. The glue will burn off in the kiln at a temperature before the glass tacks together. So it's just a means to help us be able to transport the pieces back to me without everything falling apart. And it's also how we do it when you're in the studio and we add frit, which we're not doing in this particular class. But anyway, just know that's why we glue it. And I think, let me see in my cheat sheet if I had any other questions. I don't think so. I think you're covered. So if you did have any other questions, please just send me an email or call me and I will help you out. Thanks so much for taking the class. I hope you had a great time. I hope you have fun. Keep it light, keep it fun. It can take you 10 minutes. It could take you 2 hours. Do whatever you want. And I look forward to seeing your creations. Thank you. Bye-bye.